Welcome back to Dechamp's Rants and Reviews. I'm Mark Dechamp Deschamps, and I'm here today reviewing Silent Night, Deadly Night. Very specifically, the 2025 remake of the 1984 slasher film. Now, if you're not familiar, Silent Night, Deadly Night is a franchise of horror movies set at Christmas time, as the name implies. There were a handful of movies in the franchise. The first two being like the most popular, or rather infamous, if I'm being honest with you. The original was a hotbed of controversy when it came out. There weren't a lot of horror movies set around Christmas time when it came out in 1984, and there weren't a lot that had Santa depicted as an axe wielding maniac. So there was a lot of controversy when the movie came out, and a lot of people weren't happy about it at the time. Now here we are 40 years later, there's a remake. Not so controversial these days. I mean, we've seen a lot worse and riskier, and we've seen Santa depicted in some pretty bloody movies in the last 4 decades. Nevertheless, here we are, brand new take on the original, and I have to say, having seen it, I'm a big fan. So, full disclosure, I've never been a big fan of the 1984 original. If you're a follower of the channel or if you've watched any of my other movies, I very recently, like a few weeks ago, did a countdown of a handful of my favorite Christmas horror movies. And if you watch that video, you might have noticed that Silent Night, Deadly Night was not on that list, and neither was the sequel, the direct sequel, or any of the other ones. And that's because, they're okay. Honestly, I'm a big fan of the slasher genre, but there's a lot of crap in that genre. And there are things that I like about the original Silent Night, Deadly Night, but I think it's just kind of an okay movie. If I were reviewing that today, I would probably give it like a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Um, it's enjoyable. There are, in some ways, like there are some good kills. Um, you know, as I pointed out in my previous video, I there's something kind of cool about horror movies set at Christmas time. Specifically blood hitting snow. There's just something about it. It works really well. Like the cleanliness of snow, the pure whiteness of it. There's something, it brings out the blood and it looks cool. But Silent Night, Deadly Night, the original just didn't do much for me. It never has. I've seen it a couple times. It's okay, If anything, it's one of those movies that if you're wrapping presents, it's fun to throw on in the background and kind of, oh, let's look at that kill. Oh, yeah, that's kind of cool, and that's about it. But I'll tell you right now, I walked out of the theater seeing the remake, and I was blown away. I loved it. It did its own thing, but there are plenty of callbacks to the original. So if you did like the original and you did like the sequel, including the infamous "It's Garbage Day" line from that was a terrible impression, but we're going with it. The infamous "Garbage Day" line from Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. There's plenty of callbacks, but this is also its own thing, which I really liked. So the new version of this movie was written and directed by Mike P. Nelson, with Rowan Campbell playing Billy, the main. It's hard to call him a protagonist, I guess. Protagonist, antagonist, main character of the Silent Night, Deadly Night. I can't even call it the franchise, because if you've seen the original 1984 movie, Billy doesn't make it through that one. No spoilers for the new one. I'm not going to tell you what happens. But if the original 1984 movie, Billy doesn't make it past the first one. So, Rowan Campbell, he's here as Billy with a brand new take on the character that still leans into how the original started. So, if you've never seen the original, the concept is that young Billy sees a horrible display of carnage as a young boy. His parents are brutally murdered by a man dressed as Santa Claus, and it completely destroys his life. He has horrible PTSD, and he ends up, once he turns 18, going on a killing spree dressed as Santa Claus. That was a really good setup in the original movie. There are certain things that I don't like about that film. It's very 80s in its approach to humanity. And what I mean by that is, if you've seen a lot of 80s horror movies, there's a jadedness about humanity, and it really bleeds through. The Toxic Avenger is a really good example of this. Everybody's just horrid. And that's kind of how Silent Night, Deadly Night is. Like, everybody is pretty horrid. There's a bleak outlook on humanity. And, I'm not crazy about that. But with this, what I liked is they still have the crux. You still have kind of the origin, but there's a different spin. I don't want to spoil too much. But this version of Billy has a voice in his head that is telling him to kill people, and we pick up very early on the fact that Billy is killing people in the month of December. He has an advent calendar that he is putting bloody marks in each day to show that he is, you know, killed on that day. And it seems like, without going too spoiler heavy, it seems like he is killing for good, which is a unique take. And honestly, man, I really, really liked it. Rowan Campbell does an amazing job of bringing this character to life. I was a really big fan of his in Halloween Ends. There are not a lot of people who like that movie. I love Halloween Ends, and I loved Rowan Campbell very specifically. I When that movie came out, I wrote full um, a full article about how much I liked the character of Corey Cunningham, who is kind of the main character in Halloween Ends, which is something that a lot of people dislike. So if you've never seen Halloween Ends, the whole kind of concept of that film is that somehow Michael Myers seems to kind of transfer his essence into Corey, and it makes him a killer like Michael Myers. Interestingly enough, without going too spoiler heavy, that's kind of similar to what we get with this remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night. And just as he did with Halloween Ends, Rowan Campbell does a fantastic job bringing this kind of tortured character to life. He's really interesting. He's actually easy to root for. You kind of find yourself pulling for him and pulling for some of the other characters. I found myself invested in him, in his character, and the female lead in the movie, Pamela, Pammy, as she's called by some characters, who is portrayed in the movie by Ruby Modine. I really, really liked their dynamic. Um, and I really liked how this was simultaneously a remake, but it still approached the material from a new perspective. If I were making my Christmas horror movie list, um, now as opposed to a few weeks ago, I would absolutely put this on the list. I would love to see this movie again. I had an absolute blast with it. The gore factor is pretty good. It's not overwhelming. There are a couple times where I'm like, ooh, but overall, I don't want to say I expected more in terms of gore. I kind of got less than I expected, but I expected heavy. Um, and it was a little more subdued. I kind of heard a couple times, oh, from the creators of Terrifier 3 or producers or whatever. And that's kind of being tagged on everywhere because those Terrifier movies do really well. Um, but brutal, but like not too bad. Like if you're not somebody that like likes a heavy level of gore, I think you could still see this and not be like too intimidated. Like as I said in my Christmas horror themed movie from a few weeks ago, I have a very hard time recommending the Terrifier movies to people because like I enjoy them, but I also know like that's not for everybody. And Silent Night, Deadly Night, like this is one like if you like slasher movies, go see this movie. Like absolutely go see this movie. I get the impression this is not going to be in theaters very long because unfortunately a lot of movies like this just don't hang around for very long. If it's not going to be like a big box office draw, it hangs around for a little bit. The Regal theater that I saw it in, like they had kind of stuck it in like the smallest one. Um, and you know, we have like the new Avatar movie is out now and the new SpongeBob movie is out. I don't see this one hanging around. Like it has like 2 screenings right now, like per day in my area. If you get a chance, you want to check out something horror related at Christmas time, and you've watched all the movies I already recommended, go see this while you can. And if you don't get a chance to, check it out on streaming when it comes. You know, I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it will be quick. You know, on something. I had a blast with this. Went in cool directions. You know, great acting. Really neat. One thing that I like, and this is me as a horror buff. I like when bad people get their comeuppance in a horror movie. Unfortunately, in the real world, we just don't get to see bad people get their comeuppance a lot. It's just reality, and it's tough, right? Like we're all kind of suffering through that. Like we just all want to see some consequences for you know people that do bad things. So what I like about this movie is it's the kind of movie where you can go in and you can see bad people get what's coming to them, and that's fantastic. So yeah, go. It's gory. It has a good storyline, well acted. You know, uh, great. It makes great use of the Christmas setting. It makes use of I think the best elements of the original Silent Night, Deadly Night. Um, but it blows that movie out of the water. So, like I said, I would give the original Silent Night, Deadly Night about a 2.5 out of 5, and I think that's kind of generous. And I think most people who actually like the original movie would probably agree with that rating. Um, and I would give this a 4 out of 5. Like I walked out of that theater and I was just beaming. I am a big theater guy. I love seeing movies in the theater. This if I'm doing my math correct, this was the 48th movie that I have seen in theaters in 2025. I hit 50 last year. I'm really hoping I get to 50 before we hit January 1st. We'll see if I get there. But you know, I like being in theaters. I just do. There's something about it. There's something about the atmosphere. If you get a chance to, go check this out because it's fun to see something like this, and you know, hopefully you get to see it in a packed theater because it's always fun to see other people's reactions to gore. Like that's so much fun. Now, if you see this movie and you agree with all these things that I say, I'm gonna give you some recommendations of other things that I think that you should check out and you might like. Now, first up, because it makes sense, Rowan Campbell, go check out Halloween Ends. It's been a few years since the movie came out. I think some of the divisiveness has probably died down a little bit. Rowan Campbell is fantastic in that movie. The opening sequence, in my opinion, one of the absolute best in the entire Halloween franchise. I'm a huge Halloween buff. It's my favorite horror franchise out there. I've seen every movie in the franchise, even the bad ones, multiple times for some of the bad ones. I'm a huge fan. I love Halloween Ends. I get the complaints about it. I get that people didn't like certain things about it, but Rowan Campbell's fantastic in that movie. He's there from scene one, and he is so good, and he's a great tragic character, and you root for him even though he's a bad guy. I mean, I established it earlier. You know, he's a bad guy in that movie, but you can't help but pull for the guy and feel for him. just as you do in Silent Night, Deadly Night. So check that movie out if you haven't already. I'm telling you right now, I love it. It's great. And another recommendation for you, not a film though. It's the comic book series from Marvel Comics called Eddie Brock Carnage. Now, ironically enough, like Silent Night, Deadly Night really felt like, not only did it feel like the 84 original in parts, but it also felt a lot like Marvel's current Eddie Brock Carnage series, which follows Eddie Brock, who was the who was Venom. If you're familiar with Venom, he's the original Venom, but now he is the host to the Carnage symbiote. And the idea is that they're both kind of dying, and they need each other to stay alive. And Eddie is not a killer, but Carnage is. So they have this dynamic where Carnage is telling him to kill people, and Eddie doesn't want to, but they have to survive. So Eddie is only killing killers, which is basically the same premise of the new Silent Night, Deadly Night. So, if you like this movie as much as I do, go see Eddie. Go start reading Eddie Brock Carnage. Maybe you're not a comic reader. Give it a chance. Comics are great. I love. I've been reading comics since I was like 4 years old. I'm telling you right now. Maybe make this your excuse to check one out. If you love Silent Night, Deadly Night, and you're like, man, I gotta ride this rush. I gotta take in something that's similar. Give it a shot. You might end up loving it. Thank you so much for listening, for watching. I love ranting about movies. In case you didn't notice, I love ranting about video games. I love ranting about anything. That's what we do on this channel. I rant, I review, we talk about all kinds of different things. 2026 is going to have so many good movies. I am so pumped up. If you're a horror buff, man, 2026 has got some cool stuff in store. So, you want to hear about my thoughts on those? Stick around. Become a subscriber of the channel. Share this. Get other people to subscribe. I like talking about that, and the more people that subscribe, the more I can, the more incentive I have. So please, please, please like this video. Think about subscribing. Think about sharing, and think about tuning in for the next one. Take care.